Well, welcome everybody to Mary Giuliani Live. I am so thrilled you're here today. We are going to have a great show. We've got Susan Grau ready to come on and talk all about her near-death experience and just an amazing story about, you know, what she's gone through in her life. And so we're very excited about that. And also, I'm very excited to share with you that next week, I'm actually going to be interviewed myself by my best friend, Carrie, up from Washington. So she's going to be down here interviewing me. So I want to make sure you guys come to the show next week as well. Sorry I'm looking away a little bit. I've got all kinds of little scripts I have to kind of keep my eyes on. Anyway, for those that are new, the whole purpose of this show is to help you transform your life. And, you know, when I put myself in an environment where people were really committed to their transformation, some amazing things happened. And so as a result, my life began to transform. And 30 years later, here I am, and I'm a completely different person. So watching these kinds of shows and putting yourself in environments with people that are really committed to their growth is, I think, the most important thing you can do. So for those of you that are watching live on Facebook, if you would be so kind as to share the broadcast to your existing timeline, that way other people can hear Susan's amazing story. If you would like to ask Susan or me questions during the show, you need to come over to marygiuliani.net / or watch live, because there's a chat box right beneath the live stream on my website. So make sure you do that. Also, for those of you that would like to know what visitors I'm going to be, you know, interviewing in the next week or 2 or 3, please get on my email list. And all you got to do is go to my website up here and go to the newsletter section and make sure you sign up. I also have some pretty cool blogs and things that I write about in the newsletter. It's just a weekly newsletter. So what else? Also, if any of you have questions on people that, or for me as a coach, I'd like to start answering questions at the end of the show. Make sure you send those to me at mary@marygiuliani.net. And also, if you or someone you know you think would be a good guest for this show, we're looking for people that have really transformed their lives and have a story to share and willing to share about it. We'd love to have them. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Also, at the end of the show, I'll be sharing a coaching tip for you as well, and I like to line that up with whoever my guest is, so that will be fun too. I think that's just about all the, well, I guess if you are on iTunes, you can look up my show, Mary Giuliani Live, and subscribe there, and you can get automatic downloads of all the recordings too. So, well, you know, I have known Susan Grau for, gosh, I don't know, 3 or 4 years at least now, and she's an amazing person, an amazing medium, and an amazing just psychic and healer, and you know, it's just been incredible, the different readings that I've gotten from her. And so it's just so cool to have her on the show, and she's working on a memoir that she's going to be putting out very soon, plus another book. So without further ado, let's cut over to Susan. Hey, Susan, how you doing?
Doing great, Mary. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. It's so nice to see you, and I'm so thrilled to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Well, you know, I was so excited to hear that you were writing this book, and I hadn't realized until we spoke that you had had a near-death experience and how it really shaped your life, you know, and so it was like, oh my God, I was so excited to talk to you about it, and you know, kind of learn how, like a lot of people will have not a lot, but some people have had those near-death experiences but didn't go on and have it be their life's work, and it seems like for you, it actually has become your life's work. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about what happened, and you know, and so we can all kind of get a feel for what happened to you when you were a little girl.
I would love to. I think I've always had this gift. I remember when animals would pass, I would see them floating. Of course, I didn't remember that till later in life, and it kind of took me back. But ultimately, what happened was some young boys in the neighborhood told me there were popsicles in the freezer in the garage, and I climbed in, and they sealed the garage freezer, and they closed the garage door and ran home. The freezer was not plugged in, And I was in there for well over 45 minutes.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
remember, in fact, my sister was reading part of my book and said to me, it wasn't plugged in, and I said, but there was light, and it dawned on me. Oh, there was light, of course.
Oh my
So
God.
ultimately, at the end of the day, the result for me is my mother came and got me, and they told me she'd get me, and she told me I was in there for well over 45 minutes, I would imagine, and after that, I could just see people, and I would see them looking in my windows and standing at the end of my bed, and I would panic, and my dad would say, there's no one there. We had a Great Dane. Romy would get them. You know, there's nothing that could happen to you. But I
Uh-huh.
remembered my. So what happened to me is in the freezer, the room lit, and I remember
Uh-huh.
feeling some angelic presence there, and I remember being spoken to, and they were telling me that I didn't need to be afraid. They would get my mommy. And I felt like I went on a travel, and I don't know how else to explain it. And that travel
Yeah.
was phenomenal. I saw a lot of things. Now, I've had other experiences that have kind of combined in that because there's so much that happened to me throughout my journey. And
Right.
being back there has actually occurred for me in a very odd way. So it's just been amazing. It was amazing. And I just knew things, and I saw people when I was back. And I remembered the
So this was
rooms they took me
when
to.
you were so this was when you're in the freezer and you're saying that you actually had this experience where you were transported to a different sort of dimension, right?
Yes, yes. I remember seeing light. I remember seeing light on top of the light, basically, and I felt like it was angels, and I was raised with that, so
Yeah.
that was how
Yeah.
they would present themselves to me.
Yeah.
And then I remember rooms, and I remember a yellow brick road, and I remember just things that they taught me about human condition and mankind and why we're here and what our purpose is, and how to
Yeah.
find that out and understand it. So when I came back, they were all around me, and I remember when I was little, I was playing house with a group of young girls, and I
Uh-huh.
said, um, your grandma wants to play, and they went, that's so mean. Her grandma's not here. Obviously her grandma
Oh
had
my
died.
God.
And I realized at that point that nobody else saw them. My sister saw them. She saw them with me. They
Mhm.
were in our room. I used to climb in bed with my sister and snuggle down because I was afraid. I was 4.5. And I
And
can
this was
remember
this
not
was
even,
after the near death experience you were afraid or
yes,
before?
I was afraid. I was four and a
Yeah.
half, and I don't think I
Yeah.
understood
Yeah. That's a lot to
exactly
take in at that age.
yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't understand the experience they were trying to tell me I was going to endure, truthfully,
Uh-huh.
and then also love, both.
Yeah.
And so when I came back, I just would crawl in my sister's bed, and I would cry and say people are talking to me, and she'd feel the
Yeah.
energy too. My sister's very gifted, and
Yeah.
so I know the gift came from our family. My mother was gifted, but the
Okay.
mediumship got very big for me at that point.
Right. And did you see like deceased loved ones as well when you were in that state?
I did not. The second time I was there, I did see my father and my brother. The first
Okay.
time that I was there when I was little, when it really got huge for me,
Mhm. Mhm.
I saw the Room of Heart's Desires, which is a room. It's a well. It's a deep, huge well
Mhm.
of infinity. It goes on forever. And I looked in and I saw movement, almost like watching DNA turn. I didn't know that at
Oh
the
my God.
time, but that's how I saw it. And
Uh-huh.
I looked at them meaning spirits, and asked, where am I? And
Uh-huh.
I wasn't afraid, interestingly enough, but I said, where am I? And they said, you're in the Room of Heart's Desires. Being four and a
Uh-huh.
half, I challenged that. And I said, do you do all those? And they said, oh no, Susie, sometimes what people desire the most isn't good for them. And they proceeded to show me this yellow brick road. And this road was pavers on both sides of it. And the
Uh-huh.
pavers went up forever. And they showed me basically the human condition. And people were on this road standing, and they were pulling pavers out. And I kept thinking, why aren't the pavers falling? Why aren't they falling down? And they were paving. And they said,
Uh-huh.
and then you would hear the people say, help me, God, I can't do this. Do
Right.
something. And see all this crookedness in the road, in my yellow brick road that I was watching. And they said, when that happens, we swoop in, because they're not the pavers, we are. And we will bless or block. And when we block, we don't play games. We'll throw a wall in front of you so large you cannot cross it. And when we bless openly, but obstacles will still be there. And they said that when we allow us to pave that road, we then can do our job instead of your thinking doing the job. So it goes further than that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. I know there's a little delay here for the people that are home. Oh, and before I forget, I want to mention that there's a few people in the chat room that we are going to be opening it up for questions for Susan. So Cynthia and Sabrina, we're glad you're here. I have a question though for you. So when you say that that the pavers are not for us to pave the road, that spirit needs to be the sort of the decision maker on that. How does that tie in with free will and life scripts and all of that stuff?
Well, I kind of asked a question similar to that. I said, how do we know when we're, because they said just take the next step. Basically just walk the road. And I said, how do we know we're walking it right? And they said, do we bless it or block it? It's that simple. So if we bless it or we block it, basically. So in other words, what they were trying to tell me is, yes, if they don't want us walking that direction, they'll turn us. They will make something happen that we have no decision to make but to shift if we want to survive and be joyful. So a lot of people don't shift. They come from their distorted sense of thinking instead of their soul's connection. And so they keep banging their head against the wall. But they, you know, and I did that. Even though I knew better, I did it. So, you know, throughout my journey, doing it. But they were very clear. They were very clear that there was one direction and it was their direction. And if we could just get into a soul source instead of a head source, we'd be able to understand what that direction is supposed to look like for us. But when we want something so bad, our thinking becomes so distorted. And in that distortion, we make decisions. And of course, those aren't spiritual soul decisions. Those are need decisions. And instead of I would like to, or or like maybe like kind of wound-based decisions or identity-based decisions versus the bigger picture for your soul kind of decisions. Absolutely, absolutely. They had other rooms there and other beautiful things, but that one stuck with me probably the most. I saw beautiful things. I saw angels, what I consider to be angels, and when they opened their mouths, music and song came out at the same time. Literally, the words and the music were pouring out of their mouths all in one mouth. I don't know how to explain it.
Oh my God.
And it was phenomenal. And I remember them seeing people on this path going in there, and then I remember them saying, "Good job, you've done so well," patting them on the back. It didn't matter how they got there or what they did on this planet. The fact that they had the courage to be here was the greatest gift you could give them. That you were willing to look at yourself and walk this journey, in the painful journey that we do walk here. So they were applauding and celebrating, and it was beautiful. And I remember asking someone, "Have you seen God?" And they said, "I have to go." And they kept walking, and I said, no, it's me. I have seen God. And they said, "I have to go now, but I'll be around you." So, and that happened to be my brother, and this is, you know, deeper into it. But it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And I have to tell you, my journey has been very hard, and I definitely fought it. I did everything they told me not to do. You know, I did all the, you know, partying in the 70s, the whole 9 yards, did everything they told me not to do, trying to avoid this because I didn't understand what was happening to me. I started getting woken up at night, literally shook awake. And I would see someone standing there, and I'd say, "Go away." And they'd fade, and then I'd either recognize them or not, but I'd say, "I'm going to go potty and I'm going to come back." And then I'd come back and I'd say, "Okay, go away, I can't do it." And they'd say, "Oh, you can," and they'd literally get in my face.
So are you saying you actually saw them like in your mind's eye or really in the room, or how did you see them?
I call it TOD. It's time of death. I actually see them outside of me, and I hear them outside of me when they just have died. And what's happened to me, even with my dearest friend Georgianne, one of my dear friends, her mother came to me. I didn't know she had passed, and I got woken up, and I didn't like the energy for whatever reason. I was woken up out of my sleep, and I said, "Go away." And I went to the bathroom and came back, and I laid in my bed, and she literally stepped up in front of me visually and said, "No, you're going to listen to me." And I was just taken back. Well,
Oh my God.
he gave me an array of information, huge amount of information. And the next day I got a call that my girlfriend's mother passed. And I had this whole list of information to give her of their last conversation that I was not aware of. And all the answers that her daughter had asked her to make sure to get to her. So it was quite profound. But that's kind of my brother. When he passed, he came to me and shook me. He took me to the yellow brick road, by the way, pulled me right out of my body, and showed me so many things, what he didn't have to feel anymore, what he did have to go through and experience on the next leg of his journey. He came to me for 3 nights. I didn't know he had died. No one did. And for 3 nights, he shook me awake. And for 3 nights, he kept coming to me. And finally, I surrendered. And this was, when I wasn't really understanding what was happening, but it kept happening. And then that's when he...
How old were you then?
26.
Like with the...
with my brother. Now, my experiences of time of death happened from the time I was very young. My Nana died. She came to me. I remember every detail, her sitting in a rocking chair. I was visually seeing her, and she said, I sat alone for years and years, and I started crying, and I would be frozen in my bed, which is a real normal phenomenon for people who have visits. They freeze. They can't move. They can only think telepathy or in a telepathic way when they're speaking. But I saw her visually and was telepathically talking to her, and she said, I have died and I'm okay. And I thought, this, what just happened? And then I looked at my husband and said, I can go to sleep now. And he said, okay, go to sleep. I didn't know what was happening. And I went to sleep. And the next morning we got the call that my Nana had died. And that's when I actually called the Paralegal Society. Or excuse me, Paranormal Society.
Paralegal.
My daughter's a lawyer, so of course I'm going to say paralegal.
Yeah.
Paranormal Society.
What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? Do something. And they actually told me that this is a normal phenomenon for gifted mediums. And I talked about my death to them, and they said this is not unusual. And to just write it out and see where it takes me. And so that's what I did. I used to be able to touch people's stomachs and tell them if they were pregnant or what they were going to have. Or if I fell on someone in a bus. One time I fell on someone, and I remember touching someone's leg if I was going to fall. And I could feel the life energy coming out of him in Las Vegas, and he walked off the bus and had a heart attack. And I had looked at my friends and said, oh my gosh, I think he's going to die. And they went, you're so morbid. And then he did, so those were the kind of experiences that I lived with my whole life.
And were you raised in were you raised Catholic?
I was until I was 7 years old, and then my parents made a decision, and I think it's because my mom was gifted and couldn't connect the dots. And my mom and my father made a decision that they were not going to be Catholic any longer. And they had other reasons, of course, whatever their reasons were, I don't know. But I know that my mother, she used to dream what was happening to us when it was happening. Even if we were singing a song at a beach, my sister would be at a place with people, and my mom would have the dream of exactly what they were doing and what happened, and odd things like shaking a trailer that's caught in the sand kind of thing, or singing Edelweiss. And my sister would say, how do you know that? We used to think my mom would get in the car and come, check us out, but she didn't know where we were. So she was very gifted. My sister is an amazing healer. My sister's a medical intuitive. She can touch you and tell you what's wrong with you. So I've been
you're surrounded by all of this. I mean,
I am.
So when you started experiencing your own connection to spirit, were you able to talk to your mom and your sister about it? I mean, obviously you talked to your sister, but was your mom somebody that you could, sort of get support from?
Well, my mom believed in me always, always. But my mom was so afraid of her own gift, she didn't want to look at it.
Okay.
And I think my mom thought I had brain damage or something, to be honest, because none
Oh,
of them were mediums. They were very gifted in what they did, but they weren't mediums. And I didn't know I was a
oh,
medium,
okay.
but my mom picked up
Okay.
on something more from me.
Okay, I see. And so, so just as far as like the memoir that you're about ready to publish, it talks about how, you know, the lessons that you got out of, you know, all the hard lessons that you got from just being on this planet. Can you share a little bit about, you know, just why we have to go through this suffering and stuff that we do and that sort of thing?
Well,
And oh,
what
and
I
before you start, hold on just a second. I just want to tell the people in the chat room, please just submit your questions and we'll take them as soon as we're ready. So anyway, FY, go ahead.
okay. So can you repeat the question because I
Sure.
veered away.
Yeah. So you mentioned in your book that that you were able to get some answers as to why it is that we have pain and suffering in our lifetimes and the purpose of it.
Well, I got a lot of different answers. One of the main things I began to understand from them is the people who, let's say, are starving, or the people that
Mm-hmm.
are in other countries that are having these horrible things happen to them, and they are hungry and can't get water and those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things. And what I understood that to be is a lot of people say they're new souls who have to go through these experiences in order to climb. And I was told quite the opposite. I was told by Spirit that they are old souls that are courageous and willing and are able to handle such a hard and difficult journey. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
they offer to do this is to teach us compassion, compassion of spirit, compassion of abundance and love, kindness, gentleness, understanding that people need more. It brings something to us and teaches us to remain in our spiritual selves and souls. So, having said that,
Wow.
in every journey I've taken, I know I'm an old soul. I know my sister's an old soul. And in every journey that I've taken, I've recognized very quickly that this journey was meant to teach me, and I asked for a lesson of this. I wasn't victimized by Spirit, which is the
Mm-hmm.
mentality that people tend to get. They actually
Yeah.
wanted you to learn and be more and grow and give and have
Mm-hmm.
compassion. How can I
Mm-hmm.
understand to help another if I haven't experienced it internally in my soul? I can do it
Right.
book-wise, which is wonderful, but there's another
Mm-hmm.
level, and that's the soul level. And in order to do that, you have to experience the experiences. So through this,
Absolutely.
all the suicides I've been through, and like the starving children and the children that don't have water and have to suffer, I
Mm-hmm.
know that I'm here to teach others compassion and love and understanding and kindness and
Mm-hmm.
spirit compassion, not head compassion. You can say, oh, I'm so sad for them, or how sad that your brothers and your mom killed themselves. How sad that is for you, Susan. But at the end of the day, the compassion needs to come from the soul, because you can look at me and say that, but if I don't think you understand, I won't feel as safe with you. And I really, truly won't feel you get it. I'll simply feel
Mm-hmm.
grateful, which is wonderful too, and I'll feel grateful that you
Right, but there's
offered me.
nothing like somebody actually having that experience or like, and so for,
Exactly.
and would you mind sharing a little bit about what the lesson or, well, I mean, you shared about, excuse me, that the suffering is about having compassion. As far as you've had 3 suicides in your family, which is just, I mean, very unusual and very heartbreaking, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you get like a message or some clarity as to why that specific tragedy happened for you in your life?
Well, it's interesting because a really good friend of mine when I was young committed suicide, and then my brothers
Hmm.
both did 3 years apart, and then my mother did not so far in the distant past. Um, I think for me, what I have found is that I'm presented with people who either want to die, or
Oh.
people who have given up, or people that have
Hmm.
had a death and don't know how to deal with the emotion of it. When it first happened, I didn't feel that way. I was why me, crying, all of that. And that
Yeah.
is normal,
Yeah.
the grief process. And I
Of
went through
course.
that. And sometimes I still go back to it. But at the end of
Yeah.
the day, I had to make a choice. And for me, it wasn't a choice, it was a destiny. For most people,
Yes.
it's you choose. Will it make me better or will it make
Right.
me less? And I automatically, I don't know if it's from my experience or who I am, I automatically went to the place of I want to be more because of it. I didn't think it in my head. I chose it. And so
Right.
when that would,
Yeah.
so then when that would
Well,
happen, when someone would come to me, I could help them.
yeah. I mean, what kind of popped in for me right now is like, yeah, this is like your destiny. You were destined to be put around people that were either leaving the planet because of suicide or that were afraid of death or whatever, because that's what your journey is. You know what I mean? It makes sense that you would be put in that environment because that's what you're uniquely gifted to do. I have a question from
You.
Sabrina. Um, so, what is the most important lesson you have learned through your near-death experience?
That we are not solely human, that we actually have a place that we call home that is gloriously wonderful, and you never have to be lost here. You never do, because there's that place for you always waiting. And when your time
Hmm.
comes, everything you feel here, every experience you have, is going to go with you in a soul level. People don't realize that their brains die when they die. It's not
Hmm.
their brains that go with them, their souls go with them. So my
Hmm.
experience, I guess my greatest lesson is what I think doesn't matter as much as what I do with what I think. So if I can be the
Ah,
best person I need to be, my thinking isn't what calculates that decision of where I sit on a soul level. The only thing that makes that decision is my actions and my
hmm.
words, what I do with
Hmm.
what I feel and think. So if I dislike someone and I act on that, I'm harming
Right.
my soul. So I think that's been my greatest lesson throughout my journey and from being there. And also just knowing that I'm afraid sometimes of dying too. I'm more afraid of how I'll die. That's where my
Hmm.
fear steps in. More for other people it might be, am I really going to go somewhere? The answer is yes. Unequivocally,
Hmm.
you are going to go somewhere beautiful. And it doesn't matter that you made mistakes. You were meant to. And it doesn't matter that you don't feel like you did it right. You were not meant to do it right. You are here, like in school, to learn what you don't want to be, not what you want to be. And that's what Spirit's really trying to teach us here. What don't I want to be? We think we're trying to figure
Hmm.
out what we want to be. Well, by process of elimination, we're finding that out simply because what we do
Hmm.
that doesn't feel good, we shift to something that we want. It comes
Hmm.
naturally.
Hmm.
That's extremely powerful.
Well, yeah, it's very much a law of attraction sort of philosophy. You know, what you don't want gives you clarity about what you do want. And the other question I have is when you said that when you do make choices that uh, are just out of fear or out of just any kind of negative energy, it hurts your soul. What do you mean by hurts your soul?
Um, when I do something that harms another human being, I live with the
Hmm.
pain of the result. I think I can justify it, but my soul
Hmm.
can't. My brain and distorted thinking can justify the action and behavior, but my soul
Right.
suffers. Now, when I say suffers, I'm talking this lifetime. When we leave here and our brains
Hmm.
die, the things that happened in our souls we heal from. We learn from, we experience, we re-experience, we get cleansed
Hmm.
from it, and something greater comes from it. Just like I was talking about deciding
Hmm.
who we want to be when something bad happens, up
Right.
there, the decision is always the best soul, the best person,
Hmm.
spirit, whatever you want to call it, that you want to be.
Hmm.
And that you are innately, you are that beautiful entity that belongs knowing yourself and learning about who you are and the power of you.
Awesome. Wow. So then what I'm hearing is that there's a saying, and I don't know if I'm going to get this right or not, but it's something like we don't get punished for our sins, we get punished by our sins. In other words, we get punished by having to live with what we did in this life. It's like an
Yes.
instant karma.
It's instant
um,
karma. People say
yeah.
to me, I did something, am I going to go up there and they're going to punish me and I'm going to have to come back and do it? I think we choose to come back and feel what we've done to others because we want to understand the emotions that we inflict upon others, whether good or bad.
Yeah, I was
There
going
is
to ask you
no,
that. Like, well, like, you know how, like, a lot of people will say, excuse me, well, if it's so great on the other side, why don't we all just kill ourselves? I mean, I hate to say it that way, but, you know, and yet what I'm hearing is, and let me know what you've gotten about this, is that if we do kill ourselves, it's not like we get to like pass go and, you know, collect $200 or you know what I mean? You still are going to
no,
have that level of consciousness, right? I mean, it's like you really
right.
don't gain anything because you're going to still have to deal with those issues that made you want to kill yourself. Is that in the next
Yes.
lifetime? Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. And even going beyond that, we try to escape from something that we're meant to learn, we're going to have to
Right.
learn it again.
Right.
And people don't understand that. And if we opted, we are not victims of spirit. Spirit loves us.
Right.
They want our greater good. So we opted to
Right.
come here and learn lessons. And when people, I say that to some people, they go, I would have never wanted to learn this lesson. And I said, I bet. You're thinking in the human form. Of course you don't. This hurts.
Right.
This is a school of sorts. And this school teaches us that we hurt. But as far as suicide goes, number one, if we knew how wonderful it would be there and understood because we remembered, we would go there. You're correct. That's why we don't remember. That's why they have to block that because we would not remain. We are human and soul mixed together and our thinking would become fully distorted and we'd say, I want out now. I mean, I would have said
Yeah.
that years ago. Absolutely. I
Right.
was suicidal for a time, just wanting to remove myself from the pain of everything that I'd gone through. But I didn't. And the result of that was I became more for it instead of less. So if you pass by killing yourself, you're not punished. There's consequences to everything, good and bad. There's no punishment there. You are loved. However,
Right.
we take that with us, and then I don't know about you, but repeating this particular journey may not be something I'm ready to do.
Right.
And if I
In
didn't
other
learn
words,
the
you don't
lesson,
graduate. You still have to. You have to earn the next level by who you were.
earn may not be the right word. You have to be willing to experience it because you've asked for the lesson.
Got
So
it.
there isn't really a learning in it. It's more of a decision you've made in your soul base, and you don't get to change your
Right.
decisions in your soul. You
Okay.
get to change them in
Makes
your
sense.
head. That's free will. But you don't get to change them in your soul.
Okay, I have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
Okay. No?
One of the guests has asked, well, I think we already know this, but do you receive messages from those that have passed? And if so, do you give them on the show or do you do private sessions? And I think we talked about this before, that we're not going to do this on the show tonight, but Susan, you are available for private sessions, right?
Absolutely am. And yes, I do talk to spirits who have passed. And I'm a master evidential medium. And what that means is that I want evidence, not because I'm important, but because my client is. If they don't have the evidence, they don't believe they're there. The minute the evidence comes hard enough and fast enough and strong enough that they can say, I know they're here, then I'm aware at that time that it's now time to talk about the emotion and the love and the maybe the pain and what they need to fix and what needs to be mended. They are healed there. They become healed, even if it takes time. They come here to help us heal because we still hold on to the hurts because we're in our thinking. Without our thinking, without our brain, there's no free will. We're all souls. We might as well just stay there. Yeah.
Okay, so I
yes,
have another question. Oh, sorry. From
No, I've
Cynthia
done.
again. Yeah. Do you see animals on the other side, and why do they get so abused here?
Why does anyone get so abused here? Free will is part of the most devastating and beautiful reason we're here. Free will. Making decisions that can heal our soul or not heal our soul, and some people get lost in that. unfortunately. And spirit doesn't interfere. They can't interfere. If they could interfere, understand that then it wouldn't be free will. So people harm and damage sometimes people who don't deserve to be harm and damage. Excuse me, my phones are going off very bizarrely. My recordings in Siri are talking to me. It happens to me all the time when I'm in session, so I know it's spirit giving out information here. It might continue if you could just. So animals, back to animals. You know, it's really interesting when someone asks me. It's weird. It happens to me. I have them on standby right now, and it's still doing it.
I know. I know. As you know, I've been around a lot of mediums and psychics, and I see it happening all the time too. Yeah.
It's bizarre. But as far as animals go, they're part of our souls, our animals, and they're our soul journeys. So they go with us and come and go and come and go and
really?
re-enter into our worlds. Yes, yes. They too have a journey, and they have a journey with us. And there are healers in a lot of forms, just like any other healer animal. They're there for us, and they help us get through things. So they're very important to our journey. And, you know, people ask me, do you see animals? And I always say no. And then I'll go, oh, but I see this little white puppy, and it seems marbled, and it seems like it might be a Shih Tzu or something. Would you understand this? Yes. Did it get poisoned? Yes. Or did it eat grass that it shouldn't eat, and then it got sick and didn't make it? Yes. Or did you have to put him to sleep? So I start to go into that realm, and I don't even know I'm there. And then I start laughing and say, I don't think I read animals, and yet all the information's right. So having said that, I know I can. Do I tap into it all the time? I don't think. I think I'm so inundated with helping the human condition and helping souls find their life path and their loved ones that I don't take enough time to do that. And I need to. I need to work on that more. Yeah. But yes, it's there.
And do you actually see animals on the other side?
When I was there? No, I did not. No, I did not. But that doesn't mean that they're not there. Please understand, I only had a portion, a very quick and quiet portion of this journey. There were so many rooms there, like Roman rooms with no ceiling and broken pillars. And in the center of every room, there is something to be desired, whether it be the room of knowledge or the room of love, the room of conditions, believe it or not. Because our thinking needs to learn not to be so conditional. And so we try to learn before we come here. So, yeah, I know there's a room of animals. I know it. And I know they're always waiting for us, and they're near us. I've had my dog rub my leg that wasn't here anymore, and I knew it was her. I knew it with all my heart and soul. But they're with us. Just like the human soul, they are souls, right?
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for that. Doris Cynthia says thank you. Doris has a question. What's the purpose of the ego?
Well, I think the ego, two things. One is to protect us. I think that if we don't have any ego, we'll let the car run us over, right? We'll let the guy punch us. We'll let the beast sting us. So in that sense, ego is very important, and it serves a purpose. It says, no, you can't hurt me. I won't allow it. And so we need it. What happens with inflated egos is it's like Kudzro, I think Kudzro, where it grows like a weed and it starts smothering everything around it. And that's what happens with ego that is inflated. And that purpose is simply human thinking and free will. It doesn't serve us in any form. It teaches us. I'm going to take that back just a little. It does teach us. Because if our ego gets too far in the picture and in the way, we suffer. How could they do that to me? Why did they say that? You know, and we go down that road, and then we're caught up in it. We're in now the sickness of someone else's behaviors or actions. So ego can harm us, but it has a purpose, and it serves a good one. And without ego, there'd be no free will, would there? We'd be still going back to that same thing, that if we can't be whatever it is we think we should be here, we're robots.
Right. Then what's the point? Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Have you gotten messages or clarity or visions about just the essence of what God is? just had to ask.
Sure. No. Yeah. Yes, I have. I had a very profound experience when I was in my late 40s. I worked for hospice, and I was helping people. I was doing 11th hour work. I did it all volunteer. And so when I say I worked, please know that, because I love to
Mhm.
be honest in what I say. And we had a professor come in who was a psychiatrist, and he took us through the journey of dying from the moment you find out the day before where you're healthy and the moment you find out that you have something like cancer, and then to the
Mhm.
next phase and the next phase, and then the letting go phase. And he did a huge hypnotic thing. For me, it was huge. And
Mhm.
I went there, and I was lost. They couldn't bring me back. I
Oh
literally
my God.
wasn't able to be brought back. I mean, the professor, the psychiatrist, when he finally did get me back, I looked around the room, and I was sobbing, and everyone else was looking at me like, this lady's crazy. But I
Mhm.
returned there, and it was profound. And I was held in the arms of this beautiful entity, this beautiful, powerful light. And I cried and said, please, and I still to this day cry when I say it. I remembered the energy. And I said,
Mm.
please don't make me say goodbye to my babies, my children,
Mm.
my girls,
Mm.
my son.
Mhm.
Please don't
Mhm.
make me do it. And he said, one by one, you have to release. And I said, I can't. Please don't make me. And I said, I can't leave them. And he says, you never leave them, just like I never leave you. I'm always here to
Mm.
guide you on your travel, and you'll always be there to
Mm.
guide them. Don't be afraid. I'm right here with you. And I knew that it was the power source, which I can choose to call my God,
Mhm.
amazingly powerful. Whatever you choose to call it, it's all the same thing. It's the power of love, period,
Mhm.
beyond anything I can even explain to you. It's
So
so,
then, sorry.
please go.
Well, so was it like an energy, or was it a personal God, or or was it just more of an energy or
I
feeling?
feel that it was kind of both. So if I could offer this to, was it Cynthia who asked the question, or whoever
I
asked the
actually,
question?
I actually, I actually asked the
Oh,
question. Yeah.
okay. If I could offer this, um, it is everything you can imagine and more. So it is can be human. It is the energy is beauty. It's love. It's a light. It's dim. It's everything that we can imagine and more. So it
Mhm.
encompasses the whole realm of
Mhm.
every thought pattern or soul level you could be at. So for me, it's just, for me, it's a God. So of course, that's how I relate. So it feels
Mhm.
human almost to me, but energy human,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Right. It does. It totally does.
Good.
Um, so like you gave me the outline of your book and stuff, and towards the end of it, you talk about how you finally realized that you were enough, and what was that whole experience like?
I spent a great deal of my journey, honestly, feeling the energy of everyone else, and they got to decide my value.
Mhm.
I lived from the outside in, not the inside out.
Mhm.
And because of that, being an empath, every energy that was around me, I was taking in, personalizing, and wearing. If you had
Mhm.
something negative to say about me, it must be true. That was my thinking. Because I
Mhm.
tried so hard to live in that tender place. So you must have missed it, and that would be impossible. So you must be telling me something that's truth. And so I would live
Mhm.
in that constantly, trying to figure out who I was. When I
Mhm.
realized that I was on empath and what that exactly meant for me, I was
Mhm.
able to release that insane thinking that I got, that everyone else decided my value. My value is decided by me and my higher power, nothing less
Mhm.
and nothing more.
Mhm.
And what I do decides my value, not what I think, not what I say, what I do. So I came to a place of understanding that even if you don't like me, I'm still enough, because you're not me. You're
Mhm.
you. And I
Mhm.
don't have to take that on anymore. I can simply be
Mhm.
comfortable in my own skin at any given
Mhm.
moment if I just allow it. Now my thinking gets
Mhm.
distorted, and I go, oh my God, I can't believe they said that about me, or I can't believe they hurt me. How could they hurt me? Well, people don't
Mhm.
do things to me. What they do speaks of who they are, not who I am.
Right.
And when I got that understanding, I was able to realize that I was enough.
Wow, that's so powerful and such a great message for everybody. Yeah. Um, so you have another book coming out too. I don't know if because we've got about maybe 5 more minutes, and so for the guests that are in the, if anyone wants to ask questions, you've got a couple more minutes. Do you want to say anything about that book, or because this one that we were sort of talking about was the memoir?
The memoir, yes, and that hasn't been named yet. We're still in the writing of it. It should come out in 2018. I'm doing a book on empaths. It's about living from the outside in and feeling from the outside in, and how we always feel like we're looking through a window, not quite fitting in, feeling on the outside of the world, but taking in all the emotion and feeling of everyone else and personalizing that into who we are. And we get anxiety when we go places and we feel less than, and we're trying to fit in and we don't fit in and we don't know what's wrong with us. Many young people today are empaths and they're suffering with it. They think something's terribly wrong with them, and in truth something's righteously right. They just have to learn how to tap into that, understand. So that's what my book's about. It's a lot of toolbox, basically, and understanding from a psychic medium's point of view who lived it from birth, what an empath truly feels and how to maneuver through this world that's so harsh sometimes with that inside of us. Yeah.
How is, and let me know if I'm on with this or not, but how is it different or the same as a highly sensitive person?
Well, a highly sensitive person is also, I believe, has empathic ability and is an empath in some form. I think the difference is the level. I think there's different levels of empaths. So a highly sensitive person would feel maybe panic and take things very personal and those kinds of things. An empath actually lives it. You feel it, I live it. I take it on so deeply in my soul that I'm actually living your experience of me, your experience of that boss, your experience of that death. I'm living it. So it's in that form.
Does it actually take, like if I'm in some kind of panic or whatever, when you say you're living it, does it take it away from me and it sort of transfers to you, or are we both living it?
We're both going to live it. So it's learning how to prepare ourselves and protect ourselves. So if you're panicked, how I would live it maybe would be to say, did I do something to make her panic? I feel her panic, now I'm in a panic. I must have done something. I must be part of this. I must have created this because she's with me right now and she's panicking. And then I start to feel your energy. Then I start to take it in, and now I'm living it.
Right. Okay. I have another question. From Doris, many mediums teach that meditation is necessary to do on a daily basis to develop their mediumship and psychic skills. How do you feel about this?
I have to be honest with you. I don't subscribe to any particular thing to develop it. I believe Spirit gives us all our development. All we have to do is ask and then pay attention. The brain is, this area of our brain is like a muscle. You must work it. So I work it all the time. I'll go in a grocery store, I'll look at someone, I'll get a feeling of what's going on in their world. I never intrude or ask, but I'm exercising, right? The more I exercise that muscle, the better the muscle will become. So like any muscle, and that's all it is. It's an area of our brain that's a muscle. So what happens to me is when I hear that, I say to people, if meditation does that for you and works that muscle and creates the circumstance for you to be able to get, really into that area of your brain, go for it. And if you don't need that, great. Find what it is you do need. Because Spirit's right there wanting to help you do this. They need help on this planet. And they want you to help. So if you can, awesome. Whatever works.
Cool. I have a question. So you talk about how our brain dies when we die, but our soul goes on. And so like your loved ones are always with you. Does that mean that like the essence, it feels like to me like, does that mean your personality dies with your brain, or is part of your personality in your soul? In other words, when I leave this body, will part of my personality continue, or is it just a whole different thing?
Absolutely. Even the negative things we do can go with us, but we're cleansed from that. But yes, absolutely. Our personalities, our sense of self, what would be the purpose of coming here and becoming nothing and going back and just having that same soul? So our personalities teach us. They also help us relate to our soul groups. the people up there that we actually connect with and that know us and that have helped us here and that have joined the journey with us to help us be more or to help us get through particular things. It's kind of like that story of people coming into your life to help you for a moment and then leaving for that season. Yeah. That kind of, you know, I don't think I said that right. You know my point.
A reason, a season, or a lifetime. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I think that our personalities are part of our soul that comes here with us, actually. I don't think our personalities are necessarily created here. Now, damaged that personality, definitely our brains have taken on. But because that brain has died when our body dies, the part of our personality that goes with us are the parts that we're meant to learn, which could be negative. Mm-hmm. We may need to learn some negative things and be cleansed from that. And two, what we came with. So both, they join together.
Right.
But you understand that we're not thinking with distortion when we're there. We're seeing the big picture. So it makes more sense then. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's next for you, Susan? Would you ever, I'm just curious, would you ever want to be like, you know, what's the Long Island medium, whatever her name is, or would you ever like to be like on a huge global stage on that level, or what is it that you would like to do?
I think the more souls I can reach, the more joy I feel, the more I feel successful in my venture to actually help people. I love helping people. So absolutely. And fame is fun. Let's be honest. Yeah. Fame is fun. It's not about that all the way. You know, I mean, that's a piece of it, but it's just a piece. Yeah. My real goal is to help people heal. So if Spirit wants me to do it here, I'll do it here. If they want me to do it on a bigger venue, I'll do it on a bigger venue. I accept whatever they choose for me. And I'll work for, do the footwork for more. But if more is not meant for me, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, good. And so in closing, I always like to ask, what's the message that you're most passionate about that you would like to leave with our viewers?
Wow, we have a lot of them. At the end of the day, you are enough. You are truly worthy, lovable, and capable. Truly you are. Just tap into that. No matter the damage, no matter what's happened in your life, you have value and you are enough.
I love that. Thank you. And so how can people reach you, Susan?
They can email me at susan@sginthelight.com. They can go to susangrau.com to my website and email me from there. They can call my assistant Alyssa at 714-793-3203, or just type in Susan Grau Tustin or Susan Grau Medium in Yelp and you'll find me.
Well, perfect. Well, this has been such a joy. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm so thrilled for you. And thank you for all the wonderful, great messages from tonight and all the stuff. I mean, you've done a lot of readings for me in the past, and they've always been fantastic. So thank you for all you do and the light that you bring to the world. And we'll have to have you on when your next book comes out. Okay?
I would love that. Thank you, Marian. Congratulations to you all.
Oh,
bye.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Susan Grau. Wow, she was amazing, and what a gift. And it's so neat that she's sharing her gift with the world. And that's one of the things I love to do as a coach, is help people really honor who they are and share their gift with the world. So I do offer a coaching tip at the end of every show. So tonight I thought I would offer what I believe is a way to connect with yourself. Now, as like Susan said, it's not for everybody, but what I do every day is what I call a mindful meditation. And this is a tip just to help you stop, look, and listen in terms of how you're feeling about just in your body. A lot of times before I started doing this about a year and a half or 2 years ago, and before that I couldn't meditate at all because I couldn't get my mind to shut up. But once I learned this new form of meditation, it was one where I don't need to worry about getting rid of the thoughts in my mind. All I do is put my phone on airplane mode so I don't get any calls or texts, put on my timer, and I started with like 10 minutes, and then basically just sit there and close my eyes and just feel what I'm feeling in my body, let the show begin. Let whatever thoughts come up and feel what they are, and just the point of this type of meditation is really to become the observer of your thoughts, so that you really are looking outside of them versus getting engaged with them. And to me, that's one of the, I think, the most powerful skills that you can develop, is to really get that you're not your thoughts, you're not your body. And when you can develop a practice of just taking, like I said, I started with 10 minutes, but now I do 30. It's a really powerful way to just help you get present and get grounded, and help you really see what's really going on within you and within your consciousness. So that's my coaching tip for the day. As far as next week, I'm going to be the actual guest next week. My best friend Carrie is going to be down from Washington State, and so we're going to be in the studio together, and she's going to be interviewing me. So if you want to ask me any questions about my crazy past, I'll be telling all. And how it's helped me on my journey. Also, I do want to mention my coaching practice. So I love empowering women, basically are my target market, really. Women that are really looking to create a life that is really one where they're honoring their values, where they're going after their dreams, where if you're in a place where, you know, you're 50-something and you don't want to die with your music still in you, that's what happened for me. And that's why I'm doing this, because I knew that I wanted to share my gift with the world, and I believe my gift is all about inspiring women to step into their power and to share whatever their gift is. And so I'm doing it, and I can help you do it. So if you're interested in getting some support, go up to my website and go to the coaching section. Also, I am helping people do their own live stream shows too now. So if you would like to have your own live stream show, I have a 90-day program where I can help you actually produce a show, learn how to use the equipment and everything, and have fun reaching a global audience out of the convenience of your home or office or anywhere. So all you need is a laptop, an internet connection, and a camera, and you're good to go. So let's see, is there anything else? Again, for the guests that are here, if you're not signed up for my newsletter, make sure you go up to my website and go to the newsletter section so that you can know who's coming up. I also include free links to the audio and video recordings of the guests that I've had on. And again, if you or someone you know you think would be a good guest for the show, I'm looking for new guests, let me know. I'd love to talk to them. And my email is mary@marygiuliani.net. And let's see, is there anything else? Well, there's always the last thing, which is I want to challenge you to do one thing tomorrow, to be true to yourself, because when you're true to yourself, it's amazing the things that are going to open up for you. So we'll see you next week, everybody.